The Great Pyramid of Giza weighs, brace yourself, over 6 million tons. Imagine parking 2.3 million family-sized cars neatly on top of one another. That's the mass locked inside those pale limestone blocks. Now zoom in on just one block. It tips the scale at more than 2 tons, yet ancient builders stack them with the precision of Lego bricks. So exact the joints can't fit a razor blade. So, who carried out this jaw-dropping engineering feat? A horde of slaves whipped into submission? An elite guild of master architects? Or something even stranger? Stay with me, because the answer is richer and far more human than most viral theories would have you believe. Before we dive in, picture the scene 4,500 years ago. No steel cranes, no diesel trucks, just copper chisels, wooden sledges, and the raw determination of an ancient nation at its peak. How did they quarry, ship, and hoist millions of blocks into place with millimeter-level accuracy? And how did they align this colossal structure to true north within a tiny fraction of a degree, a feat most modern surveyors would sweat over? By the end of this video, you'll understand the mainstream archaeological evidence so clearly that you can separate cinematic myth from stone-cold fact at a single glance. Plus, you'll discover the paper trail, yes, literal papyrus receipts, that lets us follow one pyramid block's journey from quarry to summit. Grab a seat, let's crack open the sands of time and find out who really built the pyramids of Egypt. Overview of the pyramids. We're standing, virtually, on the Giza Plateau, a rocky shelf on the Nile's west bank just outside today's Cairo. 3 main pyramids dominate the skyline. Khufu's Great Pyramid, the oldest and largest. Khafre's Pyramid, recognizable by its intact cap of casing stones, and the smaller Menkaure Pyramid. Together they form Egypt's most iconic postcard, but in antiquity they blazed like mirrors. Each pyramid was once wrapped in polished white Tura limestone that reflected the desert sun. Construction happened during Egypt's Old Kingdom, roughly 2580 to 2500 BC. Think of this era as the country's golden childhood, an age of stable pharaohs, flush granaries, and booming trade. Pharaoh Khufu kicks it off, commissioning the Great Pyramid around 2580 BC. 25 or so years later, his son Khafre adds the second pyramid and the Great Sphinx. Grandson Menkaure rounds out the trio with a more modest but still monumental project. Why here? Giza offered bedrock strong enough to hold millions of tons, easy river access for material deliveries, and, critically, a clear western horizon. To ancient Egyptians, the West was the realm of the dead. Placing royal tombs here linked the pharaoh with the setting sun and eternal life. Fun fact, the Great Pyramid's original height was 146.6 meters, roughly a 48-story building, making it the tallest structure on Earth for nearly 4,000 years until Lincoln Cathedral overtook it in 1311 AD. Even today, its footprint could fit 10 football fields stacked side by side. But the real marvel isn't just size, it's orientation. Surveyors aligned the pyramid's sides almost perfectly to the cardinal points, deviating only 0.05 degrees from true north. No GPS, no lasers, just stellar observations and rope-stretching teams. That precision is your first hint that a sophisticated workforce, not random slave labor, was at play. Which brings us to the evidence-packed heart of this mystery. Here's what the best evidence says. Tens of thousands of skilled Egyptian laborers, not enslaved foreigners, built the pyramids. Archaeologist Mark Lehner's team uncovered a workers' village, nicknamed Height El Ghurab, just south of Khafre's pyramid. The site reveals barrack-style housing, bakeries that churned out thousands of loaves a day, and cattle bones showing workers ate well-marbled beef, hardly slave rations. Graffiti scrawled inside hidden pyramid chambers clinches it. Teams proudly signed their work with names like the Friends of Khufu Gang and Drunkards of Menkaure. Slaves don't usually leave cheeky crew tags inside a royal tomb. Volunteers on a national project do. But how did they coordinate the Herculean task? Enter the Nile River. Every flood season, when farms lay underwater, the state redirected idle farmers to royal building sites. Pay came in rations, tax breaks, and civic pride. Think of it as the world's biggest community project. Logistics were mind-boggling yet methodical. Limestone came from nearby quarries, while shinier Tura casing stones sailed in on barges. A trove of papyrus logs found at Wadi al-Jarf documents an overseer named Mirer who recorded ferrying these casing blocks from quarry to Giza. His diary is the oldest account of large-scale construction management on Earth. Once on site, workers likely hauled blocks over lubricated ramps. Mud or water reduced friction by up to 50%, a trick confirmed by physics experiments. Teams used simple tools, copper chisels, stone hammers, wooden sledges, but employed advanced geometry. Measuring rods, plumb bobs, and sighting poles enabled that uncanny alignment. Far from whip-scarred slaves, these builders were respected citizens mobilized under a centralized economy. Their precise craftsmanship and sophisticated planning, not alien lasers, created the pyramids we marvel at today. And that, perhaps, is the most mind-blowing truth of all. Ordinary people, united by purpose and ingenuity, raised monuments that still dwarf the modern skyline and our wildest imaginations 4.5 millennia later. The Great Pyramid is a riddle wrapped in stone. With blocks weighing up to 2.5 tons, how did ancient builders move, lift, and place each one with such precision, especially without cranes, forklifts, or modern tools? For decades, experts believed the Egyptians used sledges to drag the blocks across the desert. But that raised another problem: friction. Then a clue emerged from a 4,000-year-old tomb painting showing a person pouring water in front of a sledge. Scientists replicated the method and discovered that moistening sand can reduce friction by as much as 50%. With just the right amount of water, heavy stones could glide over the desert surface much more easily. But moving blocks was only half the battle. The real marvel lies in the pyramid's alignment. The Great Pyramid is positioned with such accuracy that its sides align almost perfectly with the cardinal points: north, south, east, and west. The error? Just 0.05 degrees. That's better than some modern constructions made with GPS. So how did they do it? Ancient Egyptian astronomers likely tracked the movement of stars, particularly the circumpolar stars near the North Star, to find true north. By observing their rising and setting points and marking the midpoint, they achieved this uncanny alignment using nothing more than wooden tools and careful observation. The construction process likely involved an internal or external ramp system, though scholars still debate the exact method. Some theories suggest straight ramps, others spiral ramps, or even internal corridors used to hoist stones from within as the pyramid rose. Even today, no consensus exists on exactly how the massive stones were placed so precisely, especially at the higher levels. The logistics alone, quarrying, transporting, aligning, and stacking, remain one of the greatest achievements in human engineering. One thing's clear: the pyramid wasn't built by magic or guesswork. It was a triumph of patience, skill, observation, and collective effort, a legacy of human determination that continues to inspire awe thousands of years later. This is where things get a little unconventional. The ancient alien theory proposes that extraterrestrials played a direct role in building the pyramids, or at least passed on knowledge that made their construction possible. It's not just science fiction fans who find this idea fascinating. The theory was popularized in the 1960s by Erich von Däniken in his book Chariots of the Gods, which suggested that many ancient structures around the world, including the pyramids, were too advanced to have been created by early humans. Proponents point to several mysterious features. First, the astronomical alignment, the pyramid's perfect orientation to true north. Second, the incredible precision in the block placements and measurements. Third, the lack of records explaining exactly how the pyramids were built. These elements, they argue, hint at lost or off-world technology. There's also the mystery of the tools. Copper chisels are known to have been used, but granite blocks, especially in the inner chambers, are so hard that cutting them with copper seems implausible. Some theorists believe lasers or other advanced tools might have been used, pointing to the smoothness and accuracy of the cuts. Supporters of the theory also note that similar pyramid structures appear in other parts of the world, like Mesoamerica and China. They wonder, how did so many ancient cultures, supposedly with no contact, come up with the same idea? Could it be a shared influence from something or someone beyond Earth? Of course, mainstream archaeologists dismiss the ancient alien theory as lacking evidence and underestimating ancient human ingenuity. They argue that these ideas often ignore the extensive archaeological finds that show a clear human origin: worker villages, tools, administrative records, and more. Still, the alien theory persists, fueled by mystery, curiosity, and the human desire to find deeper meanings. True or not, it reflects just how extraordinary the pyramids really are. They challenge the boundaries of what we think ancient humans could have achieved. Another theory that challenges the mainstream narrative doesn't involve aliens, but rather a lost chapter of human history. According to this idea, an advanced civilization, older than dynastic Egypt, may have built or inspired the pyramids using knowledge and technology that was later forgotten. This theory gained traction through writers like Graham Hancock, who suggests in books like Fingerprints of the Gods that the pyramids may predate Khufu and were constructed by a civilization wiped out by a cataclysm, possibly at the end of the last ice age, around 10,500 BC. Supporters of this theory often point to erosion patterns on the Sphinx. Geologist Dr. Robert Schoch, for example, argues that the deep, vertical weathering on the Sphinx's body could only have been caused by prolonged rainfall, something that hasn't occurred in that region for thousands of years before Egypt's known civilization. If true, it could mean that the Sphinx, and possibly the pyramids, are far older than traditionally believed. Then there's the question of the architectural leap. How did early Egyptians go from mud brick tombs to the most precise stone structures in human history seemingly overnight? Some suggest that they inherited knowledge or blueprints from this earlier society, one advanced in astronomy, geometry, and engineering. The idea of a lost high-tech human civilization also ties into global patterns. Ancient sites like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, built around 9600 BC, show advanced stonework long before civilizations were thought to have developed such skills. Could there have been a forgotten precursor culture, perhaps global in reach, that passed down its secrets? While critics argue that there's no hard evidence for such a civilization, the questions remain. What don't we know? What was lost to time, flood, and sand? The lost civilization theory taps into a deeper mystery, one that suggests human history might be far older, more complex, and more surprising than we've been taught. For some truth seekers, stone and mortar are not enough to explain the aura that surrounds the pyramids. They reach instead for ancient scriptures and secret lodges, weaving a narrative where the monuments become gateways between worlds. A recurring claim comes from an enigmatic passage in the book of Genesis that speaks of the Nephilim, giants who walked the earth in those days. Believers suggest these mighty beings, half divine and blessed with prodigious strength, shaped the blocks and lifted them skyward. The argument leans on sheer scale. If humans struggled to shift 2-ton stones, perhaps a race of towering helpers closed the gap. There is, however, no archaeological layer of giant tools, oversized footprints, or skeletal remains to anchor the legend. Layered atop the biblical strand is Masonic symbolism. Since the 18th century, some Freemasons have treated the pyramids as mystical textbooks cast in stone, encoding geometry, proportion, and cosmic order. In Masonic lore, a keen eye can trace the golden ratio through the pyramid's slope and read hidden lessons about moral balance and enlightenment. While the mathematics is real, whether the ancient builders intended a philosophical cipher remains unproven. Esoteric circles add another twist. The pyramids are energy engines. They cite dowsing experiments, electromagnetic anomalies, and meditative visions to argue that the structures channel Earth's natural vibrations, turning limestone chambers into healing resonators or even portals for consciousness. Skeptics counter that recorded EM readings sit comfortably within background levels and that no repeatable experiment confirms unusual energies. Despite the lack of hard data, these ideas endure because they offer a narrative where the pyramids speak directly to the soul, grand monuments not just of engineering but of spiritual ambition. Whether literal giants, symbolic blueprints, or cosmic tuning forks, the biblical and esoteric theories remind us that the pyramids are mirrors. They reflect whatever hopes, fears, and mysteries we project onto them. Cut through centuries of speculation, and the newest finds hand us fresh pages from history's logbook. In 2013, archaeologists unearthed the Diary of Mirror at Wadi al-Jarf, a bundle of 4th Dynasty papyri written by a dockmaster who oversaw boatloads of Tura limestone. Day by day, he notes crews quarrying blocks, loading them onto barges, and sailing them up a man-made canal to Giza. Hard proof of an organized supply chain that matches what the stones themselves tell us. Complementing the paperwork is the stone dust in the quarries. Tool marks, abandoned blocks, and ramps at Tura and Giza show how masons detached and rough-shaped each piece before the river did the heavy lifting. Together, diary and archaeology rebut the idea of magical transport. They reveal a logistics network every bit as methodical as a modern construction site, just powered by oars, ropes, and synchronized labor. Then come the revelations from high-tech scans. Since 2015, the Scan Pyramids project has fired cosmic ray muons and radar pulses through Khufu's pyramid. In 2023, muography mapped a yawning cavity, nicknamed the Big Void, above the Grand Gallery. Early 2025 brought peer-reviewed confirmation of a north face corridor carved just behind the original entrance, its exact purpose still uncertain. Thermal imaging backs up the picture. Blocks around certain joints warm and cool differently, hinting at hidden rooms or alternate passageways. Engineers now debate whether these voids were structural weight relief zones, symbolic features, or unfinished construction experiments. What excites researchers is not treasure, but data. Every undiscovered chamber is another chance to sample mortar, date the stones, or read dormant markings that could rewrite timelines. Far from closing the case, these findings widen it. The papyri answer the how of transport, but the scans raise fresh why and what for questions lurking deep inside the limestone. Technology hands us a flashlight, yet each beam reveals more corridors fading into shadow. So where does the trail of evidence leave us? We know, beyond reasonable doubt, that the pyramids rose in the Old Kingdom under native Egyptian rulers. Worker villages, payroll rations, quarry marks, and mirrors diaries spell out a massive state project driven by manpower, seasonally available labor, and riverborne logistics. The alignment secrets likely derive from meticulous star sighting, not lasers or levitation. Yet the full blueprint is still incomplete. We still lack a unanimously accepted model for lifting millions of stones up steep faces. Straight ramps demand too much material. Spiral ramps leave little archaeological trace. Internal ramps remain an elegant, but not universally proven theory. Void after void emerges from muon scans, each suggesting corridors or chambers we have never crawled through. Are they structural cavities, symbolic passageways, or hidden archives? We don't know. Tool experiments show copper chisels can score limestone but struggle with granite, especially in tight corners like the King's Chamber. Did artisans temper copper, embed abrasive sand, or use pounding stones of harder diorite? All three methods work in tests, but the mixture that unlocked Old Kingdom productivity is still under debate. Finally, no papyrus to date describes the master plan, the engineering command center where all logistics converged. We have field notes, but not the architect's manifesto. Until that archive surfaces, questions will linger. How did planners optimize block placement, worker health, and schedule drift over 2 decades? Mystery, then, is not the enemy of science. It is its fuel. Each discovery tightens the frame around human ingenuity, yet leaves space for fresh hypotheses. In that gap, curiosity flourishes, driving new digs, new scans, and new debates. The pyramids stand as a reminder that knowledge is always provisional, an invitation to keep asking, measuring, and imagining. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, and subscribe for more mind-blowing history and ancient mysteries. Got a theory of your own? Drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear it. Hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching.